Good morning and welcome to Saturday special of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Buddhism is perceived to be a religion, an offshoot from Hinduism like Jainism, Sikhism, and so on. But I would say that Buddhism is more than a religion. As a matter of fact, it can be defined as a true life philosophy and having a worldview. It ritually and practicability revolve around the individual experience and deep research into our own actions, thoughts, minds. The first thing is that you have to accept, acknowledge the Four Noble Truths enunciated by Buddha. And once you accept them, then you understand the implications of the everything. And if you don't accept it, then you can't understand what this religion really is. Gautam was a Kshatriya by caste, warrior, and then he started confronting the world's suffering. He renounced his wealth and family to pursue an ascetic style. And then he found that extreme renunciation was not the way to freedom from life's gains. So he meditated, received enlightenment, and the Four Noble Truths emerged from that enlightenment. These Four Noble Truths enclose the essence of the Buddhist belief. In these precepts, Buddha has identified the nature of suffering, the cause of suffering, the way to make them stop, and the Noble Eightfold Path. The first Noble Truth enshrined is suffering. That's the core of the Buddhist message. Life and suffering are inseparable. And for the word suffering, he used the Hindi word dukha. And dukha is used in a very broad term, not only with the pain, not only with the suffering, but all the dissatisfaction with life. It is deeply entwined with desire and the delusion this brings. And every desire, according to Buddhists, is perpetually followed by dukkha, by suffering, because every desire creates a sense of lack. From longing, pain, and discontentment grows pain. Pain and misery start with the life the day you are born, and it doesn't leave you when you are dead. That's an important thing, because consciousness, the soul, travels again to a new body and repeats the cycle of suffering and reincarnation. So next step Buddha takes is the cause of suffering. In order to neutralize dukkha or suffering, you have to identify its source. The origin is ourselves. Pain is produced through exposure to the certain mental states called defilement. In Sanskrit word they use klesh, greed, aversion, hatred, delusion are the main reasons which create suffering. And from them other contaminants arise like conceit, arrogance, jealousy. The central klesh, the central defilement of mind, gives birth to all others is ignorance. This concept of ignorance, if you know yourself, then you would understand that you are a part of the cosmos. You are a deity. Now darkness darkens the mind and obstructs suffering, understanding, detaching mankind from clarity. The logical question then is how to free yourself from the cause of suffering, how to fight suffering. And indeed knowledge, not the factual kind, but the perception alone. Now here is the difference of Buddhism, that perceptions are more important than particular way of knowing. And this perception ultimately develops. It has to be cultivated by developing mental state and followed by you're going on a certain trajectory, certain path, certain journey, which is the eighth step, which are eight noble truths. Now the fourth and the final noble truth is the Noble Eightfold Path itself. It is also called the middle way, for it is halfway between two misleading attempts to gain freedom. There are people hedonists, eat, drink and be merry, for tomorrow we die. And the others are ascetics, self-mortification. These are extreme indulgences in pleasure or self-mortification. So middle way of Buddha is the eightfold golden path for salvation. Now, the noble path guides the people towards liberation. There are eight rules to be followed, and not as enumerated steps, but as components of a whole. All the eight are the components, and combine these eight and becomes a single whole. You cannot say step one and then I'll take step 3 and 4. No, they have to be taken in sequence. And they represent 3 stages of training to reach higher freedom. First stage is wisdom. Wisdom has 2 things, right view and right intention. These are the first 2 steps. Right view, right intention out of the 8. Second is after wisdom comes the moral discipline. What is moral discipline? Right speech, right action, right livelihood. So 5. First was wisdom, right view and right intention. The second is the moral discipline, right speech, right action, right livelihood. Then third is meditation. Again, this has 3 components, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. So 2, 3, 3. Total is 8. So this eightfold path, if you adopt, you have a right view, you have a right intention, you have right speech, you have right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So the first factor, right view, is fundamental, most important, because it directly involves the correct understanding of dharma, the religion, the ethics, the moral law. And that's the base, the crux of all the Buddhist teaching. How to be noticed, especially in regard to right view, is about the morality of action. If you don't have right view, if you don't have ethical view, how can you have a right intention? How can you have right speech? How can you have right action, right livelihood, right effort? So the base is right view. And this is especially in regard to the morality of an action. And this is what karma is. This is the base of karma. Now in Buddhism, to act implies a morally driven volition, action, that only belongs to its actor and also comes with the consequences. If your action is ethical, the result would be positive. So karma can be unwholesome or wholesome, depending on whether the action is detrimental or beneficial for the spiritual growth. Now here we are not talking about material growth. We are purely talking of the man's spiritual growth. Greed, aversion, hatred, and delusion are the roots of destructive karma, while positive action is triggered by non-greed, detachment, non-aversion, empathy, and non-delusion, clarity of thought. Then karma produces results according to the ethics of your action, and is commonly called the fruit of the action. And the ripening of that fruit of your action operates across the lifetimes, not once. And according to ethics, the dharma concept of Buddha, even if an action is arbitrary, the ultimate objective should be morality and ethics. It may not look good, but the intention and the action should be good. Now, right view of dharma, the ethics, means not only performing wholesome deeds, but understanding the real liberation comes from destroying the rebirth cycle itself. Because otherwise, if you are taking birth and rebirth, then you are never going to get moksha, salvation. Once the disciple comes in terms with this truth, he reaches a supreme heights, leading to deliverance. And then he grasps the essence of the Four Noble Truths which I talked in the previous. Now these 8 steps, you can see for yourself, are inherent practically in every religion, but they have not been delineated with clarity as Buddha has done. I must say that possibly Buddha was the first ethical teacher. He was not concerned with gain or loss. No. It was only the spiritual awakening. Now, the main thing is to pursue wisdom and moral discipline. These are the basic concepts. Wisdom and moral discipline. And then the second step was right intention. This is threefold activity. It involves the intention of renunciation, goodwill, and harmlessness. And it refers directly to the second section of the path, the triad of the moralism, as talked of 2, 3, 3. The second comes here. The rightfulness of intent and thought would determine right speech, right action, and right attitude. And if you have understood these 4 principles, noble truths, the obvious solution to your suffering would be there. You have to apply these truths to all living human beings. And living means even vegetation. Applying the truths to all beings. Recognizing that the suffering of those people is also connected with your suffering, so you have to be compassionate and do no harm. Going with the elements of the 4 Noble Eightfold Path, you will find the principles of right speech, right action, livelihood, form the moral discipline. And once you observe them, you will discover harmony at social level, at psychological level, and at contemplative level. Now imagine it. The whole life of human being is at that level, at a much higher level than the mundane commercial level. And speech in particular holds a central role in determining balance for truthful speech ensures one thing, and there's a continuity between the inner being and the external phenomena. Now you slander somebody. The slander speech, what would happen? It will lead to hate. And that produces a great amount of unwholesome karma. So any talk, kind of pointless talk, is a negative. Right speech means to speak at the right time, right intention, and in consonance with ethics, morality. Right action, on the other hand, demands that we not perform any theft, robbery, murder, sexual misconduct, or anything. Now, these 3 factors establish the purification and open to the meditation, the third part, the third triad, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Right effort means to focus on prevention of unwholesome state and to maintain wholesome state of mind. All the senses are involved in this process. And they must be restrained. You have to control the senses. You are not a hedonist. But control them not to the point of total denial and withdrawal. So this is the middle path as I talked. Mindfulness and clear understanding must be applied to each sensual experience. During the work of contemplation, interest toward the objective becomes ecstatic. You are in a state of ecstasy, no pain, no suffering. And you receive the state of enlightenment. You become the alter ego of Buddha and maintenance. Now, sati is a Pali word. Sati is a Pali word for mindfulness. We nowadays call it mindfulness. But Buddha had thought of mindfulness way back, and it concerns a particular type of awareness because mind is trained to focus on the present, quiet, alert, without any distraction, without any preconceived notion, and with a grounding experience. It evolved into a procedure, and rightfulness, especially right mindfulness, is exercised in 4 ways to include body, mental, contemplation of body, feeling, state of mind, and other phenomena. Finally, the concluding step of the Noble Eightfold Path is the right concentration. By concentration, Buddhism denotes the intensification of the mental factor in any state of consciousness. Eventually, this aims at wholesome harmony of mind. Now, don't forget, according to Buddhist philosophy, and that's a fact, not proved by psychology, concentration fails to confront the defilement, klesha, and therefore cannot be seen as a vessel of liberation. Only wisdom can oppose the core of all suffering, that's ignorance. So through insightful practice, these 8 steps can transform you from an ordinary human being to a much higher level, free of all klesha, free of all suffering. And then Buddha emphasizes the supramundane path, the eradication of all defilement, detachment from unwholesome factors that cause the human cycle to happen. He brings this whole process to the completion, becomes Arhant. Arhant is the liberated one. You may then, once you become Arhant, you would not undergo rebirth. You are free from all ignorance. You have achieved salvation. But these Eightfold Path is a journey to a better human being, rising to the level of divinity and achieving salvation and freedom from repeated births and repeated suffering. Thank you.